Sikukuu kukupata we mdoli, kwa ajili yangu Mungu amekushusha. Kitunguu ndo ladha ya mtoli, ama nyama nyama kwenye sambusa. Kichuguni mzigo na toroli, hadi nguo inataka pasuka. Msupu mwenye macho ya gorori, rangi kama unaoga mafuta. Oh my, I don't like. God, you know you changed my life. In your eyes, I don't like. God, you know you changed my life. When I do the abaya, sikia my dear, usije nikimbia dunia. Mile niwe na wewe. Sisemi nabaki na kuna mama siebi nabaki na kimumunya. Sisemi nabaki na kuna mama siebi nabaki na kimumunya.
Allow me touch you, baby, oh. Allow me kiss you, shady, oh. Allow me touch you, baby, oh. Allow me kiss you, yeah, yeah. Toto, toto, umeumoka, umbika. Shabu toto, mwenzako na malizika. Hauna nyodo, kwa kwangu ndo malaika. Usilete zogo, mwenzako atanizika. Baby naona wewe ndiye hawa, na mimi ya damu upeleke kila kona. Nairobi sawa, Dar es Salaam. Oh my, I don't lie. Girl, you know you changed my life. In your eyes, I don't lie. Girl, you know you changed my life. Oh my, I don't lie. Girl, you know you changed my life. In your eyes, I don't lie. Girl, you know you changed my life. Sisemi nabaki na kuna mama siebi nabaki na kimumunya. Sisemi nabaki na kuna mama siebi nabaki na kimumunya.
Toute mon âme se consume à t'aimer. Tu es mon unique pensée, oui ma belle. Depuis que tu es à moi, kachwa nanazo kachwa bonda kumayanga nanazo kachwa kachwa. Depuis que tu es à moi, nanazo kachwa mama nanazo kachwa bonda kumayanga nanazo kachwa kachwa nanazo kachwa. Baby, sans toi je perdrais toute ma raison. Je serais comme un corps sans mot t'aimer. Qu'importe les hommes à côté que la pembeni. Chérie, t'auras toute mon affection. Je t'aime sans me retenir. Ma place est auprès de toi. Ne t'inquiète pas mon amour, on va vivre tous les jours comme la dernière fois. Mon ami mal, un ami sorto comme inséparable. Depuis que tu es à moi, kachwa Nanazo kachwa, banda kumayanga Nanazo kachwa, kachwa Depuis que tu es à moi, nanazo kachwa, mama Nanazo kachwa, banda kumayanga Nanazo kachwa, kachwa L'autoroute, ah bébé, vu qu'on est mariés nos ex nous maudissent, laissons-la nous jalouses. T'es le moteur de ma vie, je me sentirais perdu sans toi, ah maman. Je suis content que tu sois à moi, baby. Là où tu iras, on ira. Pendant les mal, on sont comme inséparables. Depuis que tu es à moi, kachwa Nanazo kachwa, banda kumayanga Nanazo kachwa, kachwa Nanazo kachwa Depuis que tu es à moi, nanazo kachwa, mama Nanazo kachwa, banda kumayanga Nanazo kachwa, kachwa Nanazo kachwa, nanazo kachwa, mama Nanazo kachwa, banda kumayanga Nanazo kachwa, mama. Si j'étais une larme, je naîtrais de tes yeux pour caresser ta joue et mourir sur tes lèvres. Depuis que tu es à moi, kachwa.
Peace and love, family. This is Black Outfire Network, which is media for the 21st century. And it's me, your host, CALMIE, and I hope this Wednesday gets you on your feet. This Wednesday, I just do hope that your day is starting off so fine as well. And it's 8 a.m. there, but here in Kenya, Africa, it's 4 p.m. and it's very, very sunny. But oh well, I just do hope that you're having a great day. Thank you so much for tuning into Black Outfire Network, which is media for the 21st century. And it's me, your host, CALMIE, and this is the African Diary Show. And once more, thank you so much for joining me here. Remember, this show couldn't have been amazing without you joining me here. And I know a lot of people would have wanted to join us on the live chat today, but of course, activities have come up here and there, but still we do appreciate their effort for joining us on our live chat at other times. But so far, thank you so much for joining me here today. And today on the African Diary Show, this is on a Wednesday. And remember, on a Wednesday is whereby we get to talk about the history of Africa. Sorry, is where we get to talk about the history of Africa. But today, being a Wednesday, when we're not going to look deep into Africa, but we're going to take a look at the hotels which were established during the colonial period, or rather during the colonial era by the Europeans. And these same hotels, some of them are still in existence. That is due to being renovated, and some of them, of course, have become homes for squatters. And the picture that I've shared with you happens to be one of those hotels here in Africa, which was established by the Europeans back then in the colonial era. But it's called a Beira Hotel in Mozambique. But ever since then, it has stopped being the Grand Hotel of Africa. It has stopped being the Eye of Africa. Remember, this hotel was very big. You can tell from the picture that I have shared with you. But before that, let me go to our live chat and take a look at who has joined us today. So far on our live chat, I have the God King Dorel, and he has said, "Peace, family." Yes, peace to you too, King Dorel, and thank you so much for tuning into Black Outfire Network, which is media for the 21st century. So we're going to talk about the petousis family, that is the petousis family hotel business. And we're also going to take a look. The petousis family is one of the family which owns the biggest hotel in South Africa, which is which came into existence in the year 1687, and it's called Old Ward Hotel in South Africa. So we're going to take a look at the petousis family, and also the Grand Beira in Mozambique. That's the one that I've shared you a picture with on our screen, and also Arusha Hotel, among other hotels which have been in existence since the colonial era. Now, let's take a look at this Beira Hotel. Yes, Beira Hotel was established um, in the year 1954 to 1974, and it was the biggest hotel in Africa. It was the eye of Africa. Everybody wanted to be linked to Beira Hotel. Every tourist, every every royalty that is wanted to be linked to Beira Hotel in Mozambique, and it didn't stay for a very long time because this hotel was later inhabited by the army troops in Mozambique, that is the Mozambican army troops, and later on we get to see that it was deserted, and the Mozambique people have now taken control over that place. Now they live there as squatters, and it houses approximately 3,500 people. That's a hotel. It's that big. It's a grand hotel, and it has helped house a lot of people, a lot of royalties, a lot of tourists from abroad have visited that Beira Hotel. But it's very sad that no renovation did take place because the army troops have been staying in Beira Hotel for a long, long time before the Mozambican people, the squatters now became the owners of that Grand Hotel. So that's one of the hotels which was established in the year 1954 up to the year 1974, and it also did close due to lack of customers. But I do think that this was because of the troops inhabiting that hotel, so it was hard to get clients and so on for that hotel. So that's why it was closed, and right now it's so sad for Africa because, like I've said, the Grand Hotel Beira was the eye of Africa. For something to be the eye of Africa in the year 1950s to the year 1917, then it means this was something so grand because it did even host the royalties from European countries. So that's the sad tale of the Mozambique hotel, that is Grand Hotel Beira. We are going to take a look at many more other hotels which come into existence, and some of these hotels, even the movie directors have shot movies in those hotels. We've even had hotels whereby the likes of Queen Elizabeth and her fiance then have visited here in East Africa, Kenya to be precise. Yes, we also do have that one. Once again, I do welcome you to Black Hot Fire Network, which is media for the 21st century. And also back to our live chat, Nish LA has joined us too. Peace Farm, yes, peace to you too, Nish. Thank you so much for joining us. And G-Man, Amani Familia, Amani to you too, G-Man, and thank you for joining me. Remember, this live chat couldn't be interesting, or rather, this live chat couldn't take place without you supporting our network. That is Black Hot Fire Network, and for tuning in. Welcome and thank you once more. And we really appreciate your presence in our live chat. So once more, thank you. Also, Kate has joined us, and he said, "Good morning, Calmi." Jiman, yes. Good morning to you too, Kate, and thank you for joining us on the live chat. And yeah, so people are joining us. Thank you so much for tuning in, for joining us on Black Hot Fire Network, which is media for the 21st century. And like I've told you today, we're going to take a look at the history of Africa. But on the history of Africa, we are going to focus on the hotels which were established during the colonial era. These are hotels which some of them are still in existence, and they have been renovated by their new owners. And also the same hotels, some of them have turned out to be squatters for homeless people in different countries. But a majority of these hotels have been under new management, so they are being they're under new management, so they've taken a new shape and color since their time during the colonial era. So another hotel that is I've shared with you the Grand Hotel Beira, and it's a sad tale for the eye of Africa. That was the Grand Beira. It is a sad tale for Africa because this is the hotel which was known worldwide for it being big, for it hosting a lot of royalties here in Africa. But well, it did lack good management, because for a hotel to run effectively, then it needs great management. To our next hotel, that is the Petousis family hotel business, which is in South Africa. Well, South Africa is known to is a home of many hotels. It's also a home of unique and serene environment for a lot of people. And of course, during the colonial era, the whites definitely did build a lot of hotels in South Africa, and some of these hotels, they're still there. They're still under new management, and also some of them, despite being under new management, they have been renovated slightly, but they still do have that old sense of touch. I mean, imagine a family vacation in a hotel whereby there's no television, in a hotel where there's no phone, there's just no modern equipment, but where you're being served, or communication is by use of letters, whereby you get even a wake up letter at your doorstep. It's just a serene environment for you to calm down. It's a serene environment for you to go take your loved ones, for you to take your family there, because this is the place where you get to bond away from social media, away from yes, all the craziness of technology around the world. So somehow I do encourage these old hotels which have been in existence since the colonial era. So the other type of hotel that you're going to take a look at is the Petousis family hotel business, which is located in South Africa. And I'll share with you a few pictures of a few hotels based in South Africa. But before that, we'll take a look at some of these hotels. So the Petousis family hotel business, it was established in the year 1687, and back then it was established in Stellenbosch, and Stellenbosch happens to be the Cape Town nowadays. So you can tell that hotels have been in existence in Africa since the 16th century, the 17th century, the 18th century, and these hotels, funny enough, they're still up to date. And these hotels, of course, the charges at spending a night at these hotels, they are extremely high, but you get to bond with time back then. You get to, let me just use the word teleport, you get to teleport back then into history, and bond a lot with these hotels. And also in these hotels is whereby great meetings have taken place here, great meetings amongst royalties, amongst high classified business people back then in the colonial era. Their meetings have taken place in these hotels. So I'm going to talk about the Petousis family business hotel, which is located now in Cape Town, and it was established in the year 1687. But this hotel is still into existence under, of course, new management, and it has been repainted and so on. But you
Nazuka chwa banda kumayanga. Nazuka chwa kachwa. The trees are warm. Nazuka chwa mama. Nazuka chwa banda kumayanga. Nazuka chwa kachwa. Oh yeah yeah. Kachwa.
kupata we mdoli. Kwa ajili yangu Mungu amekushusha, kitungue ndo ladha ya mtoli, ama nyama nyama kwenye sambusa, kichuguni mzigo na toroli, hadi nguo inataka pasuka, msupu mwenye macho ya gorori, rangi kama unaoga mafuta. Oh my, I don't like. God, you know you changed my life. In your eyes, I don't like. God, you know you changed my life. When do I do the abaya? Sikia, my dear. Usije nikimbia, tulia. Mile niwe na wewe. Sisemi. Nabaki na kuna. Mama sihemi. Nabaki na jimumunya. Sisemi. Nabaki na kuna. Mama sihemi. Nabaki na jimumunya.
Welcome back to our live chat. This is Black Hot Fire Network, which is media for the 21st century. And I'll take a look at your comments, because your comments on the topics that we are discussing do matter a lot to us. So keep your comments coming, keep your comments flowing. So back to your comments. Michelle, she said, I'm sure a lot of these hotels are still owned by white people. Yes, it's very true that some of these hotels, which were established during the colonial era, still established by I mean, they're still owned by white people. But due to the renovation that have taken place, new owners, of course, Africans have realized themselves, and Africans have still realized their potential regarding business matters. So some of these hotels, some of them, they're being owned by Black people. A majority of them are owned by Black people nowadays because of the new era, or rather the whites back then, due to the hostile environment which was created by them during the colonial era. They did change the ownership of their hotels, and some of these hotels, they are being run by Black people. But also, yes, some hotels are being run by white people. And also, yeah, Kate has said, that's beautiful. Yes, it's very beautiful. Bonding, just going back to time, that is teleporting back then into the 19th, into the 18th century, the 16th century. It was just a very, very nice view. That was the Odwart Hotel in South Africa. And like I've said, it is on the, it was established in the year 1687, but it didn't go on for a long time, because later on you get to see that it was ravaged by a great inferno, which led to the closure of it. But later on, it was established, and right now it's owned by 60 members, and the Petousis family is the one which runs that hotel. So, and also a brief history on that Odwart Hotel is that in the year 1918, that is after the First World War, yes, after the First World War, this hotel was also there in existence. So in the year 1918, after the First World War, it's when it was painted pink. And the pink, it was not just as a color, but pink was a way of trying to unify people. Pink was advocating for peace all over Africa then, or all over the world then. So that's why it was painted pink. So that is the Odwart Hotel in Cape Town now. So that's why that hotel has also housed statesmen. It has housed renowned artists back then in the time. It has also is a home of a lot of great explorers, and of course ghosts. Because as a hotel, when you walk into a hotel, there are a lot of things that come into your mind, like for example, a hotel that has existed during the colonial era. Of course, you'll ask yourself, who visited this place before? What were the activities that were taking place in this hotel? And apart from the activities, of course, in a hotel, I believe in every hotel there's a drama, or there's a story, or there's a bizarre incident which has taken place there. So that's why we say that in every hotel, ghosts do exist there. So also in this hotel, we do have ghosts because, of course, people did die there. And you find that these hotels which were established during the colonial era, these are the same hotels whereby some of these hotels were turned into hospitals. So that's why I'm saying that some ghosts do exist there, but we haven't had cases of people being haunted by them. But it's just so real that yes, they do exist there, because we do believe that for it being a hospital for some time, then it means that of course it has lost patients and so on. So that's why I'm telling you that in that hotel, it's a home of many things. Apart from you enjoying and having that serene and calm environment, then it's also has such things like ghosts. Back then, into the hotels which were established during the colonial era, the real thing here is that a lot of blacks then were used during the construction of these hotels. And apart from the construction of these hotels, we've had stories of black people who have been lured by white people into those hotels. Some of the things that they were told to do is times they were to work there as slaves in these hotels, because remember, these hotels used to house the royalties in the world back then. So of course, as a royalty, you do need to have a servant at your beck and call. So that's why, in because they were established in Africa, we get to see the likes of kings and queens in these hotels. So of course, blacks are being lured to work in these grand hotels. Some of them willingly, and some of them, of course, taken by force, because as blacks then they didn't have a say in that. So that's why I'm telling you that in these hotels, or rather in the construction of these hotels, the blacks were also involved in this. And some of the pay, of course, they did benefit one or another. And the benefit is that they get to be given cigarettes um, by anyone who was not heartless back then. They would get to be given cigarettes, used clothes. But a majority of the blacks were used for sex trade in these grand hotels, because people coming away, I mean, far away from outside world, coming to African hotels, of course, they did want to have a taste of African people. So you find that a lot of African girls were used unwillingly to work as escort girls into this grand hotel. So that was one of the disadvantages of these grand hotels. And also, killings did take place in these grand hotels, because if as a black, let's say a black lady, you are possibly told to indulge in some sexual activities, and of course you deny. Back then, negotiation wasn't the thing, so you find that either you're shot dead, either you're tortured, and then you die as a result. So these hotels in the colonial era, they have their advantages and disadvantages at the same place. So away from that, I'll take you to another hotel. And but before I take you to another hotel, let me get to read what you're just saying here. um Kate has said, I wish Shaka Zulu could have killed all of them. And also the invasion era, not colonial era, to me, it's conquest of Africa and African people. And I like the fact that the animals were killing these people. Oh God. Yes, I remember this incident whereby in Africa, of course, Africa was a bush. Like we Africans, we did learn how to live amongst the wild animals. We did learn, of course, cases of Africans being killed by the wild animals was not high, because or we did know how to kill them or to bond with them somehow, or protect ourselves from them. So yes, we did have incidences of the whites roaming in the forest, and then boom, the lion there, they are eaten, or rather attacked by the snakes, attacked by just the wild animals. Because of course, building up a hotel in Africa back then in the colonial era wasn't an easy task. And it wasn't easy in that you cannot even fence that hotel, or put all the modern equipment to secure you as an individual. We also did have the tendency of the blacks, of course, um, uh, invading these hotels and torturing the whites as a way of payment for the way they were treating them harshly. So we also do have those incidences. Also, um, Jimana said, "Are you serious? Ghosts are actually living there. What do they do to people?" Well, here is what I hear about ghosts. I hear that, of course, when you are in a room, you'll tend to hear certain voices, or I don't know if they are imaginary voices, but it's very true that even in hospitals we do have ghosts because we've had people die there. That's in our traditional society. We do believe that ghosts are real; they do exist, and yes, of course, it's true because going back in history, there's this time whereby if you've heard a story of whereby there's these cliffs in Africa, down deep down in the cliffs, whereby if you pass those cliffs, you have to put firewood there as a way of appeasing the ghosts which do exist there. And it's very true here in Africa, Kenya, in Kisii County. There's this cliff which I can't recall the name very well, but yes, if you stand there for a minute, then you will tend to hear voices of people screaming, talking in their native language, and a lot of people are known to pass by there and place a firewood and then walk. So it's true. To me, it's true because I come from Kisii County and I've seen that place. Yes, it's called Manga Hills. Yes, Manga Hills in Kisii County. It's whereby we've had stories of ghosts. Even in Luoland, stories of ghosts who have died in the lakes. And there's this time whereby they do happen to pass by, and as a way of people not wanting to be affected by them, then they'll tend to play drums or go into hiding such that they, I mean, if you're around the open, you'll play drums or do an activity, a musical sign as a way of appeasing them. So, which means that ghosts do exist. This is I've given you an example of the ocean. I've given you an example of that cliff. Also in hotels. I mean, ghosts do exist. That is at Jiman. And back to your comments, a lot of those historical hotels went to crap all throughout Africa. Yes, that is the God King Doral saying. Yes, a lot of these historical hotels, of course, some of them they did lack management, and as a result, because for an institution to work correctly, for an institution to deliver, then it requires good management. But you find that during the colonial era, when the blacks did realize themselves that they were being oppressed by the whites who are coming to Africa, the whites who are spending time in those grand hotels, and even the example of Rwanda, whereby during the genocide era, whereby we had the whites, of course, fleeing the country and leaving those grand hotels for the blacks. So yes, it's very true that a majority of these hotels did collapse, and a majority of them are now happening to be housed for squatters. But despite the fact that a majority of them, that is in some countries, but here in Kenya, hotels which were built in the year 19th century, hotels which were built in the 17th century are still to date, and they are ranked as a part of the Kenyan artifacts, that is for the National Museum staffs here in Kenya. So yes, a majority of them they're being they're just left there due to lack of management. But for countries who realize that deep down to history, this hotel or this certain building will link them to what transpired during the colonial era, then a majority of countries have preserved these hotels. And back to Kate is saying that I hope they're driving white people crazy. These ghosts need to get on their job. Whoa, that's hilarious. Yes, these ghosts are there. I think they need to come to Namanga Hills in Kisii County and take a look because these ghosts are real. So away from that, I'll share with you another picture before I get to other hotels whereby I'll just name these hotels which are existing in Africa. I'd like to share with you just a short video clip of this hotel found in Uganda.
Hi, here's Mike Leander from Speak Hotel in Kampala. It's in the center of Kampala in Uganda. This is my room on the first floor, and here is the view. Uganda is actually a very beautiful country. Kampala has a lot of green areas. Across from here is the Sheraton Garden, which is a very nice place. Can't recommend the hotel though. I mean Sheraton, but this one works if you like a colonial style, and it's a bit worn out, but I think that's part of the charm. I have two beds here instead of a king size bed. There's a nice working desk there. TV channels are unstable. Internet works pretty well. Plenty of space for your clothes and such. There's a safe as well, and there you go. And then the bathroom, pretty straightforward. And the shower facility is great because the water pressure is absolutely amazing. So I can recommend this place. Lots of great restaurants here at the hotel, by the way. I had the pleasure of dining here last night, and that was really good. So here's Mike Leander signing out from Kampala in Uganda. Wishing you a great day today and all the other days.
Yes, welcome back to Blackout Fan Network, which is media for the 21st century. And thank you so much for joining me here on the live. So that's an example of a spec hotel, which is found in Kampala, and it has been in existence for a very, very long time. But of course, these hotels have undergone renovations due to the when something is that old, it needs to go to get some renovations for it to look brand new. But of course, when these renovations are being done, there are some artifacts or some parts are not. They're left in the way they were found in the. I mean, they're left in the way they were found since the colonial eras, just as a way of reminding people of what really did happen in these hotels, or as a way of reminding us people what activities did take place. And another example of these hotels which were built during the colonial era here in Kenya is the Sarova Stanley's Hotel. Sarova Stanley's Hotel was built in the year 1904. And since 1904, this hotel has undergone major transformation. This hotel was built, of course, under this it was built under sorry yes, this hotel was it was built in the year 1904, and it has been there for a very long time. It's still into existence, and it has undergone major renovations, but still Sarova Stanley is a grand hotel here in Kenya, Africa. Another type of hotel using it in the colonial era is this hotel, whereby we did have Queen Elizabeth herself coming to Kenya. That is the Treetops Hotel in the Aberdeen National Park. It's really marked into history because in the year 1950, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, they did get to tour Kenya, Africa, and they did get to enjoy what was happening in this hotel. They did get to enjoy the African serene environment. Also, I'll just mention a few hotels in South Africa. That is the Dalstrom Hotel, which was built in 1912. Also, there's the Drosti Hotel, which was built in 1806. And these hotels are still into existence. Like I've told you, they have undergone renovation. And also another type of hotel which was built during the 17th century was the Hoek Hotel. That's the Hoek Hotel in South Africa. So in short, these hotels which were built in Africa, they've got to host a lot of celebrities. We've had the likes of Miriam Makeba touring Africa, and that hotel was in Kampala. We've also had the likes of Will Smith of also being hosted in that hotel. So these grand hotels which are built in the colonial era have really hosted a lot of celebrity. Also, another type of hotel is the Ethiopia's Taitu Hotel, which was built as desired by in the year 1907 by Empress Taitu, and it's the oldest hotel in Addis Ababa. Yes, that's another type of the oldest hotel in the colonial era. And before I finish up, also there's in Algeria we have the Saint George's Hotel in Algeria, and though the name was changed after independence, but it was also built in the year 1889. So yes, that's a few of the hotels which are built during the colonial era, and these are the hotels which are still into existence. And I'll share with you those pictures, of course, so that you can take a look of how great they do look. I can also share with you a few pictures of them, how they did look before renovation. Back to our live chat here. Um, uh, you people are just making my day. Let me just go to welcome Mitch. Mitch, welcome so much for joining. Welcome for joining us on Black Hot Fire Network. Also, I can see the God King Doral is saying, "Call me when you and Spikes go to Uganda. You all better give a cracker." Oh my God, I just won't finish that. But we'll be going to Rwanda, the God King Doral. But thank you for that. We'll be going to Rwanda, not Uganda. So before I finish up about these hotels which are found in Africa, I'll first of all thank you so much for joining me on the live chat. It has been lively. Your comments are just so amazing. You keep the live going, but I'd like to share with you a few pictures. It's just so unfortunate that I'll have to go because oopsie, we need to practice for another day. But as always, I always do look forward to this day. I always do look forward to having this show, to interacting with you people. So I'd like to share with you a few pictures of these hotels which are existing in Africa.
Allow me touch you, baby, oh. Allow me kiss you, shady, oh. Allow me touch you, baby, oh. Allow me kiss you, yeah. Toto, toto, umeumoka, umbika. Shabu toto, mwenzako na malizika. Hauna nyodo, kwa kwangu ndo malaika. Usilete zogo, mwenzako atanizika. Baby naona wewe ndiye hawa, na mimi Adamu upeleke kila kona. Nairobi sawa, Dar es Salaam. Oh my, I don't lie. Girl, you know you changed my life. In your eyes, I don't.
Sikukuu kukupata we mdoli, kwa ajili yangu Mungu amekushusha. Kitunguu ndo ladha ya mtoli, ama nyama nyama kwenye sambusa. Kichuguni mzigo na toroli, hadi nguo inataka pasuka. Msupu kwenye macho ya gorori, rangi kama unaoga mafuta. Oh my, I don't like. Girl, you know you changed my life. In your eyes, I don't like. Girl, you know you changed my life. When I dunia baya, sikia my dear, usije nikimbia dunia. mie niwe na wewe. Sisemi nabaki na kuna mama sihemi nabaki na jimunya. Sisemi nabaki na kuna
Toute mon âme se consume à t'aimer. Tu es mon unique pensée, oui ma belle. Depuis que tu es à moi, kachwa Nanazo kachwa, bonda kumayanga Nanazo kachwa, kachwa Depuis que tu es à moi, nanazo kachwa, mama Nanazo kachwa, bonda kumayanga Nanazo kachwa, kachwa Nanazo kachwa, baby sans toi je perdrais toute ma raison. Je serais comme un corps sans mot thème. Qu'importe les hommes à côté chérie t'auras toute mon affection. Je t'aime sans me retenir. Ma place est auprès de toi. Ne t'inquiète pas mon amour, on va vivre tous les jours comme la dernière fois. On a du mal à ne plus sortir comme inséparable. Depuis que tu es à moi, kachwa Nanazo kachwa, banda kumayanga Nanazo kachwa, kachwa Depuis que tu es à moi, nanazo kachwa, mama Nanazo kachwa, banda kumayanga Nanazo kachwa, kachwa Mets ton route, ah bébé, vu qu'on est mariés. Nos ex nous maudissent, laissons-la nos jalouses. T'es le moteur de ma vie, je me sentirais perdu sans toi, maman. Je suis content que tu sois à moi, baby. Là où tu iras, on ira. On a du mal à ne plus sortir comme inséparable. Depuis que tu es à moi, kachwa Nanazo kachwa, banda kumayanga Nanazo kachwa, kachwa Nanazo kachwa, depuis que tu es à moi Nanazo kachwa, mama Nanazo kachwa, banda kumayanga Nanazo kachwa, kachwa Nanazo kachwa, Nanazo kachwa, mama.
Yes, thank you so much for joining me here on my live chat that is Black Hot Fire Network. And this has been the African Diary Show. And today we've talked about the hotels which have been in existence since the colonial era. And I hope you've learned something and I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen. And back to our live chat before I do say goodbye to you. I'm so glad that you've joined me on the live chat. And once more, thank you so much. Thank you, Nish. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Amish, the God King Jorel, and who else am I not saying? G-Man, yes, G-Man. Yeah, thank you so much, all of you, for joining me, for making this live chat successful. And once more, you are welcome anytime to join me on Black Hot Fire Network. So until next time, do have a good day, and I'm hoping and wishing for you a great day. And remember, as always, it is Black Fast anytime, any day. And do remember to contribute or to make donations on our Black Hot Fire Network page. And you can also get to see entertainment news, sports news, only on Black Hot Fire Network. So we'll get to talk more about this. Of course, more about entertainment show, which will be on Friday on the African Diary Show with me, your host CALMIE. So till Friday, I'm wishing you a very prosperous Wednesday, and have a blessed day. Peace and love to you, to all the Black Hot Fire family.